The news.
The news.
The news. Behind the statist media lies.
You wouldn't know a new story if it reached up and kicked you in the pants.
You think anybody could make up a story like that?
Come here, I got news for you.
Oh, I'm gonna be on the news?
Well, go ahead, read it.
Does this story have a point?
Do not believe you're looking for tips in the supermarket tabloids.
Now I'm going to strip away this mystery and expose its private parts.
The news.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lawley program. My name is Brock Lawley. I am your fearless host. As you literally watch, no, you don't literally watch, as you figuratively watch the fabric of your society just fraying, stitch by stitch. You know, we're just trying to. I suppose what we're doing with this podcast is pouring salt in the wound. I guess. I mean, ignorance is bliss to an extent. Although I advocate for an informed electorate, I do think ignorance is bliss. I actually, really, truly believe that. I've always thought that. I always wish I could be one of these guys that sits around, plays like 8 hours of video games in just ignorant bliss. I honestly did. I thought that many times in my life. I've thought that about myself. I figure, yeah, maybe I wouldn't hold my head above water at a cocktail party, but who cares, right? Who cares? I'm in like Second Life, Third Life. I'm building amusement parks on my dad's PC computer. Whatever the case may be, would be better than literally having to swallow the arsenic that is the truth. And every day I sift through these headlines, and it's almost as if I can't even believe them half the time. And I know you feel the same way. And I also know the reason you're here is because, you know, truth, absolute truth being spoken is as rare as unicorn turds. In fact, I think you could spot a couple unicorn turds before you hear utterances of truth on MSNBC. So that's why you're here. The media is dying a slow death of 1,000 cuts of lack of credibility, but until they do die, like the dinosaurs, we are holding down the fort. Let's dive into the stories, and I do apologize the last couple days. I do apologize for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the White House admits, this is just so insane. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about in the land of the Looneyville. The administration admits Hillary Clinton is under criminal investigation by their own FBI an hour after the President of the United States endorses her unreservedly. Endorses what we know to be a criminal candidate. We know this. And not just on one occasion, multiple occasions. As you see lawlessness spread, and you are seeing it, you're seeing it as members of your citizenship violently attacked with bottles, violently punched for simply arriving at a counter-political meeting. That's it. There's two parties, unfortunately. There's two serious, legitimate parties in this country, which, you know, you can make a strong case that that's not a good situation. I might join you in that serenade. But nonetheless, we have two. And if you arrive as a member of one of the wrong ones, now in this country, in the land of the lawless, not the land of the brave, you might have mistaken that 8 years later, we're the land of the lawless, you will be hit with a bottle. You will be spat upon. They will throw eggs at you. They will bust your head open. And the cops in California will stand by. And yes, I'm going to say this, join the Trump Common Sense Parade. The cops, the chief of police, and the officers were Hispanic, watching Democrats bludgeon fellow Americans who happen to want to hear the candidate for the Republican ticket speak. Nothing done, nothing happening. In fact, as that's happening, you turn on the news and you hear cattle calls, you hear these megaphone-like declarations that we are nearing totalitarianism. We are nearing a fascistic state from the Republican Party because Donald Trump is elected. As Democrats are bludgeoning and beating fellow Americans, we know the one. The other is just hyperbole and speculation, but we know the one. And we know the one to be true as we're watching it on television. And then we also have to hear that the reason that the violence is happening is also because of the Republicans, is also because of Donald Trump's candidacy. Not because of the person that just threw eggs, and not the person that just threw rocks, not the person that just haymakered from behind his fellow Americans at a alternative political rally. Not that person isn't the reason. No, it's Donald Trump and it's the Republican Party, who, by the way, if we also listen to these same status mouthpieces, is just dangerously extreme. All the while, we literally have a prisoner. We literally have what should be a prisoner. We literally have a criminal. We literally have a federally FBI investigated candidate as the front runner, and then as hard on her heels, we have a full socialist, a full breath socialist. But we have to hear that the Republican Party is extreme. The Republican Party so cowardice, so neutered, so yellow bellied that they do nothing, that their party is being stolen from them. But that's the thing we have to worry about. We also have to hear commentator after commentator. We have to hear guys like Romney. This is just a diatribe of mine. I'm almost over. It's almost done. We have to hear Romney. Romney, who was basically the author or the seed in the soil of what is now Obamacare ravaging the nation. Romney, who used to support abortion. Romney, who spouted off every leftist platitude you can imagine up in Massachusetts. This guy telling us that Donald Trump isn't conservative enough. He's not a pure blood conservative. And then all the never Trumpers out there screaming and yelling. Meanwhile, I remember, and I included myself in this, we marched in the Romney parade. We marched in the Romney parade, knowing that the guy wasn't a purist, knowing that the guy had a ton of things we didn't like. Why did we do that? Barack Obama was destroying the country. Barack Obama and Democrat policies, not even so much Barack Obama, Democrat policies were destroying the country. So we saddled up and we went to war. Now the Never Trumpers, and I hate to admit it, but in the stack is the great Kreitheimer, has decided to join the Never Trump campaign. Just shameful, unbelievable as I watch this. As a criminal, an open, flagrant criminal who sold out the United States while serving as Secretary of State, is sniffing the White House front door again. By the way, it's just I just live in this world. I cannot believe I live in it. Donald Trump says that a Hispanic judge is going to be biased against him. Donald Trump's right, and we hear, "Oh my gosh, the law! What will happen? What is going to happen if Donald Trump, in any way, has his way rhetorically with this judge? What? I mean, the cinder blocks of society will crumble. Law, as we know, will crumble." We're hearing this straight-faced from people who have literally thrown Molotov cocktails at the foundation of justice for 8 straight years. We're hearing this in the same news cycle as they're maligning a judge who, by the way, in my opinion, too, gave a white alleged rapist too soft of a sentence, and he has white privilege. So the left is allowed to do that. The left is allowed to do that, right? The left is allowed to do that. Why? Because they're leftists. The left is allowed to call Clarence Thomas a rapist without any proof whatsoever, and then when the woman who claims it gets thoroughly discredited, they don't take any of that back. They're allowed to call Clarence Thomas every name under the sun. They're allowed to do that, and suddenly the foundations of justice are not threatened. Donald Trump, however, making an inaccurate assessment that this judge cannot call justice down the middle of the plate, thus should recuse himself is the craziest thing these leftists have heard. Ladies and gentlemen, are you buying any of this? I know it's noise, the volume's maximum, and it's going to continue to be so, but are you buying this? And somehow Donald Trump should scare you, but Hillary Clinton, who we know left our soldiers to die, who we know took money from foreign entities and sold favors, who we know risked your national security, the national security of many people with security clearance and men and women in uniform, who we know flagrantly disregarded the law which she knew because she signed agreement papers. Are we seriously listening to this stuff? We're supposed to get bent out of shape over this, over some nonsense, Trump University nonsense, even though Bill Clinton himself is some figurehead of some university that has a lawsuit. We all know all these things, right? But it's all noise, it's all theater, and we're supposed to get our pennies in a bunch about it. We're supposed to be real afraid of Donald Trump. Now we have commentators who are quiet as a church mouse warning us of a society without law, without separations of power. What if Trump? What if Trump? What if Trump? What if Trump? All of which the president has just done and is doing. The president right now in the White House right now is doing all the things that Trump might do if you listen to these hyperbolic news personalities. This is your headline. This is your world. What do we know? dailymail.co.uk. White House admits she's under criminal investigation from the FBI, who's clearly going to be stifled from administering justice. As the president, who the tip of the spear of this administration should, just at the slightest wink and nod of respect of law, remain impartial, as his FBI head, as his investigative body is investigating Hillary Clinton. But no. Politics, baby. Power politics are at play. Meanwhile, the Stanford rape case is sparking media frenzy. Judge receives death threats, by the way. That's fine, by the way. That judge receiving death threats from Democrat voters, that's fine. Don't say anything about the Trump judge, though. This is all happening real time, if you can even believe this. I alluded to this earlier. Krauthammer comes out as a never-Trumper. It's unbelievable to me. It's very, very disheartening. You can read about that in the Washington Post. There is a millennial job, ladies and gentlemen, that fits all of Bernie Sanders' criteria. There is one. Did you know that? Right here in the USA, not in Norway, not in Sweden, not in the UK. No, right here in the United States of America. All of Bernie's left-wing criteria. And when I say all, I mean literally all. Ladies and gentlemen, the experiment in socialism, free education, free single-payer health care, 40 days of paid leave. Sound Nordic? Well, it's not. You know where you can receive such employment? You know where you can find such employment? Down to the T, crossing every T, dotting every single I. The United States Army. The United States Army, ladies and gentlemen. You think you're going to hear Bernie advocating for that? I point this out to just reiterate what I tell you all the time, which is the left just says these things. They just say these things. They don't have any values. They care about power. Period. Just thought you'd find that anecdote pretty amusing. Pelosi, just out there doing press conferences as a flagrant lunatic. As an insane, not a I'm trying to insult her or I'm trying to pull the rug out from under liberalism. Or, not like that. Not like that. This is what I actually mean to say. I don't know. Did you ever watch a movie? Maybe it was one of these horror films. Maybe it was one of these thrillers. Maybe these turn of the millennial, like 1999, maybe 2001, 2002. They had a lot of these films out. The Bone Crusher, or you pick your film. And in that film, you have this person, and they're running around. Maybe they're committing crimes, whatever they're doing. They're smearing peanut butter all over themselves. They're foaming at the mouth. They're eating like, they're eating little pills that are meant for bathroom cleaning, whatever. Just like a genuine lunatic. You have that person in mind. They cast them sometimes. They got like a lazy eye. They're like the person in the film that even like the U.S. Special Forces guy is afraid around because they're such a loose cannon. Now, do you have that? Paint that cinematic picture in your head. I mean, really drive it home. Now do you see who I'm talking about? Now I'm going to tell you, you have members of Democrat power that are that insane, that are that kind of character. And again, I'm not trying to insult them, and Nancy Pelosi is one. She's out there waving an iPhone around, talking about how the federal government invited that. We don't need the private enterprise at all, so says Nancy Pelosi. I put two politicians in this category. I really do. I think Joe Biden is absolutely losing his mind, like nut jobs saying, like the screws and the bolts in the psyche of a human being are loose. Nancy Pelosi. Now, it might be age. It might be leftism. It could be a whole host of things. But they're crazy. They're absolutely crazy. They're totally fortified in power, but if they weren't to not be, the family would be making tough phone calls. There'd be people coming in with padded, minivans, throwing them in there, playing Disney movies to try to sedate them. I'm talking about insane. But these people have major positions of power in the Democratic Party. And it's okay simply because they're Democrats. I believe that. I'm telling you that. Nancy Pelosi has press conferences where she's holding up a phone, claiming the federal government does everything, invents everything, that the private industry does nothing, provides no services, no goods. They're stark, raving mad, except they have power over your life. I just want to reiterate that. I know this has been a long rabbit trail, but it's important. It's important that a lot of you know that. Is Trump's support among Latinos building? Well, according to a new analysis, it is. Latino.com reporting that. LatinoFoxNews.com reporting that. I'm talking about just sheer numbers. And by the way, this never surprises. This does not surprise me. The economic message alone is going to move the needle. I turn on every single time I turn on CNN, even just for a glimpse, like one of these like media glimpse. Every single time they're calling Trump a racist. It's amazing. It's very similar to NPR, but I gave up on them for certain hours of the day. Like I won't listen to NPR certain hours of the day, which is a shame because I tried an experiment as a citizen where for 1 week I would randomly turn on NPR and every single time they were talking about race. Every single time. Every single time they were talking about race, with no exceptions. I did this 12 times in a row, and I had my wife with me. We started laughing at the end. It was somewhat comedic at the end, but every single time we would turn it on, it was race. Every single time. Well, CNN's begun their long, painful journey into that, territory of social commentary. But they have a piece in the New York Times where Trump is just more open about his racism, but all Republicans, including myself, every Republican is racist. I've always wondered how long this is going to go. And it does, I have to admit, it does shock me. It really, truly does shock me that they're able to just continuously call people racist who aren't, continually blanket parties and political movements with racism. And this is what's truly amazing to me, when everybody involved knows that this is not true. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get campus indoctrinated sycophants to believe, and I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that the professor that's indoctrinating them doesn't believe, but I'm talking about almost all normal people in society know that Donald Trump is not actually a racist. Everybody knows this. Even the people claiming he's a racist know this. And the reason we all know this is because you'll have major Democratic figures. The one that I always thought was the most amusing is Biden was calling like Indians, Indians' names, just outright being like, the guy that's serving my slushy, he's a dot, not feather Indian. Just major political figures like Biden saying stuff like that, just open with cameras all around him. No problem. I was watching CNN, and a person was making a very valid point about the fact that Donald Trump has given massive amounts of money to stimulate the economy in minority neighborhoods. And the commentator says, what do you mean by minority neighborhood? This is actually a quote. They go, what do you mean by minority neighborhoods, conservative commentator? Only a racist would say minority neighborhoods. Now, bear in mind, like a week ago, if you were allowed to say minority neighborhoods, but apparently the stand has shifted under the secular extremist leftist lexicon. So this guy must not have gotten the memo, or the memo wasn't sent out. More accurately, there was no memo. It's just used as some language tactic that we all understand. See, this is my point. We all understand this, right? The person making the claim understands it. The person receiving the claim. The only difference between Donald Trump is he just rejects the premise, which I have been begging conservatives. Begging them to do. If I was on CNN, I would simply go after the guy's jugular on the spot. Something like this. Excuse me, you know I'm not a racist. I know I'm not a racist. The entire panel knows I'm not a racist. And yet you are muddying the waters of American commentary. Meanwhile, people are suffering under schools. Everything that's happening of substance is being ignored while you hurl ridiculous statements that everybody know is not true, designed to shut me up. I will not shut up, obviously. And you should feel ashamed of what you're doing because you're race baiting. And you're using terms like racism, where you absolutely know they don't belong, just to wield their power, just to wield their authority. Meanwhile, real racism will be ignored. Something like that. Depending on how hot the temperature was, I might turn up the volume a little bit, but that's how you respond to that stuff. Donald Trump goes after the jugular. That's what conservatives should do. Instead, they act like snails. They slither away or they accept the premise, and it's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. It undermines the nation. It undermines rhetorical discourse. It undermines everything about this country. It undermines how little racism there actually is here. And I'm tired of it. And America's tired of it. I suspect someday there will be consequences for doing it. I do suspect that, actually. I'm not just pipe dreaming. I think it's a matter of appetite. It's amazing. It's very similar when Hillary Clinton will start making noise. If she already has. I've heard a couple sound bites about how the Republicans, an entire party, hate women. Everybody knows the Republicans don't hate women. Everybody knows. Hillary Clinton, when she makes the claim, the listener, but this is just allowed. This is just sort of the secret sauce. This is sort of the environment. This is a temperature. This is just the vibe that we all accept. I'm making the claim that's dangerous. I'm making the claim that's wrong, and it needs to stop. Trump sets a primary vote record, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know this? A GOP primary record, but not just a GOP primary record. In the entire course of American history, a candidate has never received more primary votes than the Donald. In fact, he's received he's received several million more votes than Romney, who's out there crying in his cereal. It's an amazing thing. I leave you with this. The party of the Republican Party, as everybody has understood it, I need everybody to understand this, is a corpse. It's dead. It's not even there anymore. Oh, I know there's some nerve endings kicking and the eyelids are flapping. Sort of like a deceased corpse will still have some like reactionary evidence, right? It'll give you the idea with twitches and stuff that it's still alive, and that's coming from the Never Trump crowd. That's coming from these dinosaur Republicans. But I want you to hear me say this: the Republican Party has rendered itself, through lack of action, through lack of values, through lack of conviction, completely useless. There's been a coup. Donald Trump is the voice of that coup. It's just that simple. Do I think Donald Trump is a pure conservative, as conservative as me? No, I do not think that. But I do think he represents something that conservatives wanted and voted for, which is fight. And I think a lot of people have made very strategic decisions when they vote for him. They say we'd rather have some things than a politician who speaks like a conservative perhaps, or is a little more polished and yet does nothing but grow government. I mean, that's just where we're at. And anybody fighting against that is foolish. What we need to do is take it to the Democrats. Hillary Clinton is beyond dangerous. She's wholly unfit for office, but moreover, she's wholly unfit to be walking around like a free citizen, like yourself or your family. She is a criminal. She's an open, flagrant criminal. So when I hear anybody talk about the possibility of danger in Donald Trump, I would retort by saying Hillary Clinton is factually dangerous. We don't have to presume or guess or predict. She is dangerous. When somebody says, well, what is Donald Trump going to do? Possibly he'll do something dangerous foreign policy-wise. We know Hillary did and will. Maybe Donald Trump is going to step over the lines of power. Well, we know Hillary Clinton did. Maybe Trump will be scary. We know Hillary Clinton is. Maybe Donald Trump's fiscal policies won't work. We know Hillary Clinton's fiscal policies did crush the United States of America. You understand what I'm saying? It's to those of you still fighting against Donald Trump, it's preposterous. It's ridiculous. Do I think you shouldn't speak out about where you think he's wrong? No. Do I think you shouldn't debate people over the validity of his candidacy by way of the purity of conservatism? No. But to not see the glaring contrast between him and Hillary Clinton is just willfully blind. Ask yourself at the core what you're doing. Is the answer that you're holding on to the purity of the party? Point to any kind of purity in the last 20 years. There is none. They're hollowed out by their own doing. Donald Trump didn't do that. Donald Trump responded to that. You're wrong. You're wrong. The people that are doing this, the people that are out there joining Democratic talking points against Donald Trump, when Hillary Clinton is like gangrene to the nation, you're just wrong. I want you to hear me saying that. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program. Be a people of fortitude, character, and abounding courage.
À Brock Lawley Productions.